Today I wanted to come on here and share with you some of my thoughts regarding the topic of abundance. So we hear this term abundance thrown around a lot in the New Age community, and I have a view in regards to attracting abundance that you may resonate with, and so here is what I think. I personally feel it's more of a theoretical than a practical notion, simply because we have all these goals for ourselves and we think that in order to be abundant, we must do well in all aspects: physical, health, mental, emotional, temporal, and even spiritual. So that becomes then the expectation, and when this expectation is not met, we feel like we're not living in true abundance. It implies that everything is met, all our needs, all our wants, desires, relationships, money, temporal, material gains, jobs, careers, when it comes to our looks, everything is met and everything is the way we would like it to be in an ideal situation. Now, that is not true. That is absolutely not true. This is not abundance. I have a different view when it comes to what true abundance means. I link personally abundance to the evolution of the soul. And I'll explain that in a minute. Now, what I want to say is that abundance is not a product of positive thinking, like we've been conditioned to think. Okay, most people wake up every day with a conditioned mindset and an attitude that someone out there in the world will have to do the work and the service for the sovereign good. And today it won't be me, it can't be me, I'm not good enough, I'm not well enough, I'm not resourceful enough, etc., etc. So when people want abundance, however, when it comes to them and their personal needs and gains, they become very strong defenders of the notion that abundance is their birthright. And so it becomes a permanent mindset that I must be abundant and it is my birthright to be abundant, which is partially true. But what I want to add is that it's only true when that desire to be abundant is not rooted in neediness, in lack, and in actions that sprout from selflessness. Selfishness. And lack of pure intentions. So in other words, we must have the heart, we must have the mind, and we must have pure intentions that go all together in order to manifest some of that abundance that we seek. And so most people, for instance, wake up every day pursuing their own personal needs, but their view on the world or of the world is that the world is a place where they can get their needs met and a place to feed from, rather than a place where they can wake up every day and make a contribution to, or as a minimum, reciprocate. We take, we give in return, we give something in return. But it's not the same thing for everybody. And these people want to pursue abundance and then wonder why abundance is not coming into their lives. How do we evolve if we make it all about ourselves and our own personal needs all the time? How do we evolve as individuals or as a collective? Many people benefit from free services, for instance, and are very happy to take, but when it comes to giving energetic reciprocations or energy exchanges, they hesitate, and many just are not willing to. Or, sometimes it's an innocent mistake. Sometimes people just forget because they are not really thinking about giving. Okay, the taking part is there, seems to be the norm and seems to be what we're conditioned to do naturally. And so, do we evolve if we have this mindset? And the short answer is no, I don't think we evolve with this mindset. This mindset belongs purely in a three-dimensional mindset and society. And, it is not heart-driven. It is about the person, not about the bigger picture. And it's a disease. It's disease causing, and it's a disease in itself. It's a disease in the mind. It's a virus in the mind. And it seems to be rooted in the mind that does not know anything other than survival and pursuing their own needs for survival, for pure gain for themselves. Now, if we want to evolve, and if that's what you truly aspire for and desire, then you need to become aware of your quantum abilities beyond the temporal world. We become aware of our quantum abilities and we awaken to the extent of those abilities only when the view of the world becomes bigger and larger than our limited view and our limited needs of ourself alone. Nothing wrong with pursuing own needs and wants and desires, but at what cost? What is it costing you? And what is it costing others? And so the key to manifesting abundance is really, in my personal opinion, deeply rooted in giving out of the self. One small thing, and it doesn't have to be something big. You don't have to give if your cup is half empty. Fill your cup up first. But then think about giving. Think about doing one small thing a day, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of energy. It doesn't have to cost you money. It doesn't have to cost you something that you really need in your life. Like, don't give, your loaf of bread to someone else if your children are going to sleep without any food. Obviously make those priorities first. But when you can give, and giving doesn't have to be something material. You can give time, you can give energy. And one thing that is usually discounted is thoughts. You can give thoughts to others who need it. Just by simply sending someone in need a thought, a positive thought, a healing thought. It's really an undermined topic and widely forgotten about when it comes to what we can do with our thoughts. We have the power to create, we have the power to change reality, as it were, by applying the correct thinking patterns. And when we give without expectation, it seems to have a positive effect on the individual ego. And I speak of ego in terms of the inferior ego, or the ego that wants to keep us in that divided mentality from others and keep us in the dark. And it's, the ego that persuades us to do things just for ourselves, for our own personal gain. That type of ego, that side of the ego. And I'm not against the ego here. I'm just saying that there's a part of us, it's ingrained in the mind of every being on the planet. There's that element of, I want to do things for me and only me, and I want to survive, and I want to be better than everybody, and I want to stand out, and I want all the attention on me, and I want to make all the money I can make in the world, and etc., etc. It's a vicious cycle. It's a never-ending cycle of needs and wants and desires, and if they're unmet, one becomes very disappointed. Disappointment leads to anger and frustration. This leads to disempowerment and disconnect from the soul. So giving without expectation really does something to the ego, tames the ego, if you like. And in doing that, we access the heart, because in giving, your heart cracks open, wide open, I dare say. And then through the cracks is abundance and light find their way in. Ascension is linked to sensing, ascension. Ascension and sensing is linked to the heart, and that's linked to abundance, because abundance belongs to the soul and not to the body. The soul that knows itself, knows who it is, a soul that can sense and feel other life forms and not just its own. Ascension is not a lofty idea, but rather a science of the soul that desires to know itself. It's real, it's a physics. And how do we know ourselves? Well, we know ourselves by removing the veils of ignorance that shroud the mind and the heart with all these obscurities. Sometimes they say that to know thyself, you have to wait until you're reach the age of 33, the age of enlightenment, or over soul integration, and 44, or when you're older. And before that, just focus on you. That's the conditioning. That's a societal and also many traditions around the world enforce this tradition that you must focus on you, take what you can, build yourself up, which is fair enough. I have nothing against this, but what I'm saying is that when it becomes a long-term focus and when we miss the bigger picture, that's very detrimental on ourselves. And so when we can move from the I to the we, with sincere love, with compassion and reciprocation, that's when we truly, truly begin to evolve our consciousness. And when we evolve our consciousness, that's when we can rejoice in true abundance.